Hello, everyone. Welcome to Silver Spring Town Center's artist presentation, Exploring the Human Psyche, in the studio with artist David Hubbard. And he is alongside his beloved wife and our beloved friend, Marcy Wolf Hubbard, artist and teaching artist who is very supportive of SSTCI programming and is going to be helping Dave with the presentation, doing the tech side of things, as Dave shares all the interesting kind of thinking behind his process of his intriguing work. I told Dave this is perhaps the most kind of thought-provoking and eclectic work that we've presented thus far, because in our monthly artist spotlights. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you about a few other things we have coming up. We have our Twilight Tuesday series every Tuesday, 7 to 9 on Veterans Plaza through the end of September. The first and third Tuesdays are Latin, various kinds of Latin dance music and dance. The second Tuesdays, which is this coming Tuesday, is Flow Arts. So we will have a Flow Art activity on Veterans Plaza 7 to 9, hosted by fire spinning artist James Small, and with a variety of DJs doing electronic music. So come on out and watch. You can also participate by trying the poi. It's called poi because it originates from the Polynesian art form of spinning poi. It's also related to circus arts, but it grew also out of the Burning Man scene. Our fourth Tuesday is hand dancing, and then August has a fifth Tuesday. We have not been having music on the plaza, but we have invited back the wild and wacky TV John and the legendary band with original music. So join us on that final Tuesday of August. And then we also have events coming up at El Golfo, some concerts. The concert that was originally scheduled on one of these recent hot days, featuring Bossa Pella with future sounds and electronic music. Bossa Pella is led by the wonderful musician Chris Brown, and I highly recommend you join us for this, but it's rescheduled for Friday, September 1st, 5 to 7 for a happy hour on El Golfo's patio under the stars at El Golfo. Bossa Pella on Friday, September 1st. We also have our Harvest Moon Festival coming up, which you do not want to miss. We will have teaching artists there, including Marcy, teaching a mixed media class. This is on Sunday, September 24th, and we have an array of entertainment, including Mark Tycho drummers. We have the Maryland Youth Pipe Band, Afro-Latin Dance Extravaganza with a DJ and dance instructor. And we have another Bollywood wedding dance. So come on out for that. That's with Sapon Asian Performing, South Asian Performing Arts Network and Institute. It's really a fun time, and we'll have different other arts activities. We also have a double header next week on Wednesday and Thursday. The wonderful Polyphony Marimba is on tour again. They come every 2 or 3 years from Santa Fe, New Mexico, doing Zimbabwean and original marimba music with their handcrafted marimbas, led by Peter Swing, who studied in Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, along with his wife and son and other members of the band. So they've really honed their craft in creating these beautiful instruments, but also performing them and singing. as well in the traditions that they learned in Zimbabwe, but Botswana, South Africa. So they will be on Veterans Plaza next Wednesday, August 9th from 6 to 8. And then we have a special concert under the stars at El Golfo's patio on Thursday, August 9th with Polyphony Marimba, 6 to 9. So please join us. All of our events are made possible with generous support from Montgomery County, United Therapeutics, the Arts and Humanities of Montgomery County, Maryland State Arts, Montgomery College, and many others. And you are welcome to donate at any time to SSTCI to support our 100+ arts and entertainment events year-round at silverspringtowncenter.com. I will place it in the chat for you directly to our PayPal if you could help support our ongoing events. And now let's get started with the program. David Hubbard has been a metal worker since 1975. He learned his craft in a commercial iron works. The shape he uses in his sculpture are meant to be symbolic and suggestive of like a conversation between the viewer and the object. His monument series incorporates moving elements. He is a dedicated environmentalist who would rather be in nature. He says his main joy in life is to kayak rivers all across the country. He's very interested in Native American mythology, and he adheres to their philosophy that this earth does not belong to us. We are merely its custodians for our children. David was a Boy Scout, and his father was an avid bird watcher and hiker. These influences have shaped his vision. David is the author of The Shiny Shell, an eco-adventure story for ages 5 to 12, illustrated by his wife, Marcy Wolf Hubbard. Other collaborations include, sorry, people keep texting me, our dancers. Other collaborations include Poems from Within, a book of encaustic paintings by Marcy Wolf Hubbard with poems by David Hubbard. David holds a BA in studio art from the University of Maryland. He is currently working on a new body of work, oil paintings with images from the subconscious, and that's what we're going to see tonight. He is a founding member of the band Paradise Bill, one of our favorite local bands. They play eclectic, psychedelic, and jazz music. You can see more of his work at davidhubbardart.com or contact him via email at DH for David Hubbard, paradisebill@gmail.com if you would like to learn more. And now let's get started with the program. Welcome, David Hubbard.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm overwhelmed that everybody showed up. I appreciate that you took the time. So Lisa's introduction was good. The band right now is on kind of a hiatus. Our keyboard and sax and flute player left for Portugal, so we're regrouping, but we'll be back. And El Golfo is one of our favorite places to play, so we'll keep everybody posted on that. The best way actually to see what's going on, I post my works on Facebook. You can friend me or and see everything there as I'm finishing it up. So I don't really like to talk about art that much. So what I would kind of prefer to do is just show the images, and then I can answer questions or whatever, but I'm more interested in how they come across to the viewer than I am in trying to explain what they're about for me, you know what I mean? So I'll just go ahead with the presentation. One of the things that I'll share is I hadn't painted really with, at least not with oil paints. I've done so many things over the years, just kind of playing in all different art forms, including writing and music. But we went to see the Philip Guston show at the National Gallery, which I believe is still up. And it's a great show. He was a big influence on me in college when I was studying painting. And some of the next images, maybe these are paintings from after Marcy and I got married, you know, toward the end of college kind of era. And one thing you'll see coming through the work is fingers, and to me they represent the human touch on the environment, on the planet. I was an iron worker for many years, so that one kind of explains that one maybe. Love dolphins, love the ocean. I think I was a dolphin in a previous life, if there is such a thing. And again, the ocean, the beach. Spent every summer, my family would go to the beach for like a month, down to Bethany Beach in Rehoboth and the Lewes area there. And so the ocean end comes into my work quite often too.
Sorry.
All right, this was the first one that I did after seeing the Philip Guston show. It's a little big. Is that the way it's seen by everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's better. You can see the whole thing. And I was just getting started and really having fun playing with the paint. And so it's kind of rough and more Philip Guston-esque in some ways than some of the others later on. Any thoughts about this one? Questions? All right, go to the next one. Actually, this one was inspired, sort of. Actually, all of the paintings have kind of come from that waking, dreaming, sleeping state. When you wake up in the morning, I would get up and do some sketching, just whatever came to mind. So that's where these images come from pretty much. But that one was influenced because Marcy actually stuck a screw into her hand when she was at a workshop down in, and so I think that's where this one came from. This one's pretty plain. I don't know if the meaning of it comes through, but to me, and I said I wouldn't do this, but I'll do it a little bit.
Well, do you want to ask people?
Well, what do you think about it? Yeah. Is there anybody who has a...
I'm looking at the chat. Oh, okay. All right, let me see. Anyone?
Anyway, the way I felt about this one was that a brown egg and a white egg are the same on the inside. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, here we go.
We've been having so much social and political craziness that this one came through. And if you're familiar with the Art Spiegelman graphic novel called Mouse, then you'll recognize the figures down in the lower right. Again, just feeling like kind of empathy and compassion and love are being squashed in our politics these days. So this kind of came through. This one's very reminiscent of Philip Guston in some ways. He used a lot of old shoes in his work and kind of his graphic style.
Yeah, but I'm really taken. Hi, this is Claudia. I'm really taken by the leg and the little hair.
The little hair.
No, that is a scary looking leg.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it, but it definitely.
I'm sorry, what, Mars?
love
Claudia,
myself.
you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, I know, I clicked it by mistake. The cat distracted me. Yeah, but it goes with the boot and the whole thing. But that made me kind of laugh a little bit, like, oh yeah, it made me think of those, sometimes in cartoon legs and they draw like the hairs like that. I like it.
Thanks. So Philip Guston, even though it wasn't so politically and kind of psychologically out there as I am, maybe he still had pertinent political activist themes in his work, like he would show Ku Klux Klan members and kind of a cartoony style doing strange things, different things like that. So
They delayed the show, I think.
what do you mean, taking
think-
it down?
Does anyone know about that? I think that
Yeah, yes, there is a big controversy about whether, I think it was a matter of a couple of years even,
timing. Yeah.
a long time, whether these works were suitable for presentation, which in my view is completely ridiculous because they express so much reality, as do David's works that we've seen so far. I just wanted to say I'm really, I can see the faces that are getting squashed, and it's very artful to me.
So you want to go on to the next one? I've done a bunch of them. I'll warn you in advance. If it gets to be too many, just
Say whoa.
say, yeah, we're done.
Okay.
Well, if you've seen Philip Guston, you can't see too many.
Yeah. This one, the brown finger stands in for the brown body in some ways. Again, these are kind of dreamlike images, but I studied a lot of psychology and anthropology in college as well. So they're big influences on me too.
The flowers reminds me of Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, in some ways.
Mhm.
And so the orchid has two orchid blooms that are living and one that's died. So that's kind of part of the message here in this one. And this one, rainbow colors coming out of one tube. It's kind of my metaphor for different races on Earth. We're all part of the same thing. There's really no separating us in some ways. And so this one, I trying to think of a way and kind of dreaming about what could be a useful purpose for military equipment. This one's a little graphic, but hand signals create a feeling in people. And so, of course, the one on the right is "I love you" in sign language. And so I think it's pretty explanatory. You can use hand symbols, hand signs to affirm or to show your anger at people or whatever. So this one is, I guess I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory too, although the shovels are for digging the graves.
I'm gonna I don't know if you want to see it in the chat.
What's that?
Here,
People-
I wanted to, it's an interesting, there's an interesting thing about this that you probably, well, you may not have been aware of, but when the runaway slaves were chased, they would always try to run to the river and get in the river so the dogs couldn't scent them out. And there's something about this that
Right.
sort of
Caught in the
puts
river.
me in, yeah, it didn't work. It's very powerful.
I guess that one's pretty self-explanatory. Feel like. I'm not sure exactly where this one came from, except for the bullets. And a lot of times in my thinking, some of these themes will reoccur, like the bullets, like the clock pieces, like clock gears and so forth.
David, it's Rosemary Wright.
Yes, hi.
The thing that I'm just getting to know your work recently. I think you know. The thing that draws me to your work is the apparent naivete that one takes on the first look, a little childlike.
Right.
And you start looking at it, and all of a sudden you realize your undershirt's getting taken, and that casual affect is not hiding very well the profundity of your statements. And I have a background in teaching self-taught artists, outsider artists, who very often have this kind of approach that that disarms you in a way, and then lets the message go through, I think, more powerfully. And it's the absence of the didactic in your work I really appreciate. I think you also the way you handle paint, it's almost childlike.
Oh, I love just playing with it.
Yeah, and so there's a charm that that's available through the handling of the media. But all in all, just love the way you've taken some really serious topics and put them out there in a way that is very disarming and surprising when people get into it. Man, this guy's really talking about stuff. Thanks,
Well,
David.
that kind of brought up what I was going to say before. Even though I have these ideas, I'm expressing them hopefully in a way that people will find interesting and can relate to and build a story around. There are also paintings, so they have to be interesting color-wise and line and shape.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of what I'm trying to do. That's why some of them are very colorful, but they may deal with something that's not so pleasant or whatever.
Do you think about doing anything at greater scale? What would a scaling up do to your approach, do you think? Would it
Well,
upset it?
I use the palette knife quite a bit because it's so fun to move the
Yeah.
paint, and you can get a nice texture with it.
I like that, yeah.
But now I've lost my train of
Well, you
thought.
wanna
so-
Yeah, what, if you scaled up, what do
Oh,
you think
scaled up,
would
right.
change? Yeah.
Well, that's part of my thinking too, is I'm getting older. My kids are gonna inherit how many? 10,000 artworks or something like that. Some of them are big sculptures. And so I was trying to keep it manageable. In fact, I just acquired a print file so that they don't take up a whole lot of room. It would be fun to work on a massive canvas again, but just unless I could unless it could end up in someone else's home, I'm not really that.
I'm at that age also. I completely understand your considerations.
Right.
We wouldn't have thought of this 10 years ago.
No, I wouldn't have either.
No, but I think it's appropriate. Yeah. So yeah, I understand.
what
But I
size-
would love to see just one of them at scale.
Okay. Well, maybe I will do something big just to see, just to have fun with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But in general, I'm keeping them fun. So there's a question. Which one were you pointing to?
Oh, okay. So Molly's asking the size.
Oh, the size, right. These are approximately 20 by 30. Most of them. Some of them are a little smaller, some of them are bigger. I did have some canvases left over from years ago that
The
I
first
wasn't
one.
happy with, and I just painted over them. And I actually found two perfectly fine canvases sitting next to a trash can on our walk in the park in Rock Creek Park. We go every day for a walk pretty much. And so I brought them home and gessoed over them and painted on them.
Right. David, did you want to point out that this one actually,
Yeah, this one here is a canvas. And I was working with spray paint for a while.
that's pretty
And
one.
so some of the elements of this are from a painting that I never finished in my spray paint and stencil era. And I just thought I would make it into a totally different image than it was before, but leave those elements because I kind of liked them.
Yeah, okay, further down, oh, I'm skipping too much. Sorry,
So
okay.
we go
yeah.
that that one.
Okay, here's the rest of the chat if you want to see. Janine asked if there was water. Is there water
Water
symbolism?
in the last one, yeah, with the, or the one with the,
This one?
right, with the river, kind of, again, it's a fairly maybe childlike approach to this one in particular, because I didn't even do a drawing for this one. I just started painting, and so it's not quite as refined as some of the others or whatever.
Okay.
This has always been my favorite, David, of everything I've seen. I was so disarmed by it the morning that you posted it. I just went, I'll see you. Yeah. So thanks.
Well, and I
think
I
it's
didn't
the
know,
church.
because it is so direct, whether it would actually come out having a meaning that was something people could interpret, but I think it did turn out pretty well, actually.
I think it's very successful. Yeah.
Thank you. So this one was a very strong image that I got just upon waking. And it was kind of like the gears of the universe behind the scenes of reality. And but I didn't intend it to look like a face. You may already be saying, oh, it kind of looks like a face. Lisa and Tofik came over to visit, and I took Tofik out in the shop, and he looked up and he said, oh, look, there's a face in it. And so now I can't see anything but a face. But because of that, because of his comment, I did this one as kind of a companion piece.
I love it.
We can go.
Oh, yeah. That is a great pair.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I like that. For some reason, I really like that kind of mountainscape thing. I might do another one even. I've been thinking about something else I could do there. Kind of change it and have it morph even more into something else.
I love the paintwork in that smoky tornado or whatever that is. Yeah,
And again, it's
the hand in that is just really fine.
Molly asked about the typical sketch before painting
yeah.
over.
So Molly, yeah, I mean, I'll sketch throughout the day sometimes, but usually it's like in the morning after I just wake up, and I try to capture that kind of dreamlike quality in the sketching and in the imagery, but yet try to be engaging, telling a story. That's what I think the best artworks are.
Question.
Okay, Marcy, go ahead.
I mean, like we have visited Glacier National Park, and
Mhm.
now that I'm looking at these, I'm thinking more about that. Is that any part of it, what you've seen?
No, it's just totally made up, but we've also been to the one with the really craggy mountains.
Tetons.
Oh, in Utah.
Yeah, what was it called?
Tetons.
Utah? Bryce Canyon.
No, not
Well,
that.
Moab?
The really rugged peaks.
Arches?
not,
Moab
not the Maroon Bells, but something similar to that.
or Bryce Canyon.
Hoodoos?
Yeah,
Green Tetons.
so,
Oh,
oh,
the
the Tetons,
Tetons.
exactly,
Oh,
Tetons are in Wyoming.
right. But we
Um,
visited them, and in fact, I think we went through there twice.
2018.
We used to
Oh,
take
yeah.
trips in August and dragging a pop-up trailer with canoes and kayaks on top and our two kids, and we would go across country for 3 weeks in August every year. And so I think we were actually there twice, coming and going one time.
This one, I must say, just in terms of what's going on currently in the movies, could be a mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to have the feeling of a volcano.
Yeah,
They do
right,
have mushroom clouds over top. We spout big.
Well, iconographically, the thing is a tornado. It's a column of smoke. It just functions on so many levels. It's just highly embedded.
Thank you. Any other
It reminds me of the Hawaiian volcano and the anger of I think it's not Moana, but it's similar to Moana, that she's not happy with the way the earth, the humans are treating the earth. And so these eruptions express her dissatisfaction with human impact on the environment.
Yeah, actually, I spent many years reading what I could only call spiritual adventure novels. And one of them was a Hawaiian mystic who was talking about did she die? No. Marcy's beloved aunt, she just heard that she died. So we're sorry to hear that, Aunt Flora. But yeah, so all of that's mixed in, the mysticism, the anthropology, the psychology. Let me go ahead, Marcy, I'm not sure how to do this to go to the next one.
Oh, just a second. Let me,
I don't want
Rosemary
this
has
to
come
get
back.
boring.
Right. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Next.
Okay. And I apologize for the glare on these photographs. I have to get these works professionally photographed because there's so many angles and surfaces that reflect the light in different ways, even though I've got, like 3 lights that are covered so that they're not direct, that diffuses the light. They still get these glares in them. I need to find someone who can help me out with that. Anyway, this one, to me, it feels like a push and pull, the different races on Earth kind of trying to get their due or at least become equal with, or maybe take advantage of other races. This one kind of reminds me of a Grateful Dead thing for some reason, but this one is just fun. Again, I just picked up the brush and started painting, and this is what came out of it. This one reminds me a little more of Philip Guston's work too, in some ways than some of them. Any questions?
so he's poking his finger in the person's eye, or not?
Right, or is it a person,
Right. Or a Martian, or
yeah, he's got one big hair growing out of his head, so
it's so Philip Guston.
And maybe it's
yeah,
wrong.
this one was just more
Right.
fun,
Yeah.
spoof kind of playing with the paint.
These remind me and I am not an art expert in any way at all, but there's a lot of Cuban art that this is reminiscent of. Very powerful and colorful.
Well, we did visit on our honeymoon. We went to the Caribbean, and actually one of the main things the fun things we did was visited the studio of a, where
That's
was he?
right. I have to look that up. In
I
the
don't remember.
Bahamas.
Yeah, in the Bahamas. I forget
we
which
should be able to find that.
island,
Yeah.
but we spent some time with a
That's,
local artist, and he was a lot of fun. He was really nice. He showed us around, and we talked art, and so it was fun.
In April, we visited Cuba, and Americans have to go on educational tours there. And we were privileged to see a lot of wonderful art and spend time in one artist's home with which was his studio, and two other young people's huge loft-like studios. And I mean, it's really quite special, and little known.
But you're right, that art is reminiscent of Cuba because it's so big and colorful and
Yeah.
in your face.
Oh, the artwork that you saw in their studio. Mhm.
Yeah, and historically too, the artwork in the museums. A rich history that I was completely unaware of.
Right. Well, and that goes to the point of the size also. Seems to me like the average person, which I don't know if anybody average person would be interested in my work, but I think people are going smaller now. I mean, during the abstract expressionist movement, it was almost like a competition to see who could make the biggest abstract painting, that would 10 by 12 feet kind of things like that. And even Philip Guston in some ways was doing that as well. Although later in his life, he did a series of small pieces that were only like 20 by 30 or, 16 by 24, that kind of thing. So this one is, I'm sorry, again, it's not in focus properly, but another reference to the mouse graphic novels by Art Spiegelman. This one, I was thinking about the fact that there's people in this country that love their guns more than life itself, it seems like. And it kind of came through like, oh, they could be born with a gun in their, in their little tiny hands, and they would be perfectly happy. I'm interested in conflict too. Having two boys who were only 4 or 5 years apart, there was constant conflict in our house. And I did a whole series of drawings back when they were, well, that would be 18 years ago, 15 years ago, that was dealing with these two kids who were always fighting with each other. And so this is one of the images that came out of that thinking. It's like there's a whole boneyard, but they're fighting over one bone. Kind of something that people seem like they would do. I love dolphins, and hadn't painted a dolphin since college. And this image came to me like, because I like nature shows, and of course many species are in decline, and this is kind of the dolphins fighting back.
The most confusing one to me, Dave, because I thought they're wearing little Germans and they have weapons.
This one?
Were you depicting them as Nazis?
No, No, I mean, they're just weapons. That's the dolphin army. That's the way I was thinking of it.
Right, yeah, and those helmets
Trying
were worn across.
Try to protect themselves
Yeah.
from humans or something.
Yeah, I love dolphins too.
So this one, you know, thoughts that invade the mind that are not so pleasant, and this is my kind of way of rendering it in a graphic form. We all have those thoughts and we all deal with them in different ways, and hopefully keep the devils at bay a little bit. This one is just a pure dream image. I sketched it out as soon as I woke up one morning. Not sure if it has any specific meaning, but it was just fun. Kind of this one has kind of a sociological meaning to me anyway, of even in a family setting, you can kind of get poisoned by the atmosphere, by the rhetoric, by the intolerance or the rigidity of the upbringing kind of thing. So that's what this one feels like to me. This one actually was a drawing that I did, came out of a drawing that I did back when I was doing a whole bunch of drawing, and kind of we put nature in a bottle, and nature is kind of fighting back or whatever. And of course, the skull is a very recognizable artist's still life kind of image, because it represents death, but it also is a beautiful shape. You know, it's something we recognize and we can kind of relate to. Now, maybe you don't recognize what the guy is getting ready to eat, but it's a whale. If you know, if I could make it bigger, you could see it better, but
Do you want me to make it bigger?
not really. It's
Okay.
fine. So this one's kind of just more like about humans, kind of, they have to have the biggest, the best. They have to take the puffer fish, which can be deadly, and turn it into a delicacy. Maybe gluttony is part of the theme here. That one's pretty self-explanatory. This one's just fun. I think this is the one that Lisa saw, and she said, "Oh, we've got this cosmic things theme going this summer." And that's when she asked me to do this presentation. So the little alien guys, he's taking a break from whatever they're doing here on this planet and just sunning himself on the beach like any other, you know, being, person, whatever. This one features an Ouroboros on the door, and so it's kind of meant to elicit an emotional response. Many people don't like snakes, and they've been trained to think of them as satanic or negative because of the Adam and Eve story, but snakes in other cultures symbolize, like in the Native American cultures, a lot of times snakes will symbolize a connection to another reality or another dimension, portals into other dimensions. We saw that one already. I had one of my friends ask me, is that a pickle? Which I thought was really funny. I guess it's whatever people imagine it, but I was thinking about how humans think they can do just about anything, you know, so he can take a big log and just break it like that.
It's a self-portrait, right, Dave?
Yeah, most of the people in my paintings are self-portraits, although you'll see later I have done some political cartoon portrait kind of things. This one comes out of mythology. I'm not sure why it popped into my head like this, but if anybody's familiar with the Mabinogion, which is the wealth mythology, with the Duatha de Danann, the shining beings from elsewhere, the sky, the heavens, gods of the ancient Welsh, and they had a myth of the cauldron, which would, when a fallen warrior was put into this cauldron, they would rise again. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory too. It's like, seems to me the Republicans have a war kind of, or a war on women, I guess. You know, they want to dominate them, and just the way the Romans wanted to dominate Jesus. This one's just fun. It's a little academic because the comparison between the female form and the cello or bass is a fairly standard artist's comparison, whatever. I think Magritte did a couple of different versions similar to this. We all know we're living through the hottest summer on record worldwide. So this one's pretty self-explanatory too, I think. So I did this one, came to me, it's like the choice. Do we want peace or do we want, you know, nuclear annihilation kind of thing? Which is what's the choice? That's the choice, you know. But it was a little more involved, lot going on in it. So I simplified it, the image, to a little more graphic image like this one. Actually, when I did these, I didn't know that they were making a movie about Oppenheimer, but it's funny. So these, the guy, humans don't tend to, a lot of times, worry about the other creatures on the planet, and in fact go out of their way to maim them or whatever. And this guy's getting bit because he stepped on a bullet ant nest. Again, the heat of the destruction that we're doing to the ecosystem. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory too. I didn't mean it to be explicitly whether it's two of him and he just loves himself so much, or whether he's doing that in a mirror. Could be either one. And this guy is as close as I could get to a portrait of Vladimir Putin. Oh, okay, and she put this one on too. So this is me in the studio working on a new piece. And is that it, Mars?
You went through them
Do-
all.
Did you find that
Right.
other one too? No,
What other one?
the other one that I just took the picture of
No.
today. Okay,
no.
so that's it. Yay, 1 hour. I said I'd keep it to an hour.
Great. Wow. Well, we have some questions and comments, I think, from our audience. So
Have at it.
Have at it.
go ahead and just click your reaction and then the little hand, which is to raise your hand, or is that raise your hand? How do you raise your hand again? That's the clap. You can raise your hand by clicking the 3 dots,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Am I supposed to? I'm not sure what you're saying.
Oh, and then click raise your hand. Like this is raising your hand. There's an under reactions.
Well, and I'm not, if people just
I'm gonna call
have
it out.
a question or a comment.
Yeah, people can just jump in with a question or comment.
Oh,
just go
here,
ahead.
do you want to close this?
No, whatever.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, so go ahead. Whoever has a comment or question for Dave.
Well, and I've had some of my friends on Facebook like ask how long does one take, just that, and they take anywhere from 6 or 8 hours to 2 or 3 days usually. And I know they're not real big, but some of them are pretty detailed. And I'm not great with detail, so it takes me a while to do the detail, to get the story across if it needs a lot of detail.
One question I had for you, Dave, you have a lot of imagery of cut fingers and hands. And I couldn't help but wonder if your original medium of metalwork played into that, because I imagine you probably cut your hands up a lot doing metalwork.
I mean, that's an interpretation, but I really wasn't meaning that. The other thing that I did in college was I was a pre-med student for a while, so
Oh,
I know a lot of anatomy, and so I just was having fun with that kind of, and it gives it an edge, I think.
mhm.
Well,
Yeah, it gets, yeah. Well, we
and
have a lot of
well,
questions in the,
okay.
Molly says asps were symbols of royalty in ancient Egypt. And I think wisdom too, it was the snake was the truth teller in the Garden of Adam and Eve, really. It gave them the wisdom that they lacked.
Yeah.
So he got blamed for just speaking the truth, as all has happened ever since throughout history.
Actually, snakes, I've run across a couple of snakes on our walk it was pretty obvious it either been mauled by a dog or stepped on by a human, and it just infuriates me because
Right.
they've got just as much right to be here as we do, and
Right.
they're not
But-
evil in any way, and
Right, they've been vilified throughout time, and they're just as, yeah.
so
I don't think they mean to harm anyone either. They just usually react if they're stepped on or you walk on their nest.
they'll intimidate you if you get too close to them, but
Yeah. So
if-
will a chihuahua.
yeah, and if there was a 50-foot tall monster coming after us, we'd be a little intimidated too.
If you didn't have legs to run away or arms to fight back, you would be doing whatever you could with your tongue and your head, Yeah, so it's
Janine, is there an outside art museum anywhere around here? To which the answer is yes. In Baltimore, there's the
American Visionary Art
Museum, and I guess Rosemary Wright would probably know more about that than I do. I've visited a couple of times, and I actually have a couple of friends who have works in that museum, but it's a great museum.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Janine also asked, is there water symbolism throughout your work?
Well, water's a big, it's been a big factor for me. Like I say, growing up, we were at the beach. If anybody knows the Carlos Castaneda books, the Yaqui Way of Knowledge and that kind of thing. So the beach is my power spot. And I actually, when I go back to Delaware to that area, Bethany Beach and so forth, I feel differently. I do. I'll sit on the beach and just, it's a totally different feeling than anywhere else in the world for me. So I kind of think of it as my power spot. And when I need recharging, I'd go to the beach and just sit on the sand, listen to the surf, that kind of thing.
Yes, ocean can be very therapeutic and
Yeah.
helping us to connect back to our
And
kind
not
of ancient origins, maybe.
And a lot of my songs, actually, I've written 30 songs over the years. We only played about 10 or 12 of them, but a lot of them have water imagery and water and beach scenes in them. So, all right, anybody else?
Yeah, Molly is asking, do you typically sketch before painting? If you could talk a little more about your process.
Well, some of them, like the portraits and so forth, I do research. I'll go find a photograph and sketch on the canvas or from that. And I try to make them as detailed as I can, because the way I work, I lose detail as I go. I can't really control. I've got a bit of a palsy, or as you probably can notice, what they call it, innate tremor.
Unessential.
And so it's hard for me to control the fine details. So I start out with as detailed a drawing as I can, and then I do it as well as I can. And if it comes out kind of looking cartoonish, well, that's the best I can do, I guess, is in some ways. But I have noticed that my painting's gotten a lot better since I started, and this is only 4 months ago, something like that.
Right, it's a very recent thing. How many pieces have you produced these last 4 months, would you say?
40.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So Janine asks, what was behind the door of the last picture? The snake couldn't quite get the key?
Or the snake has the key and you have to get the key from him. That's more the way I was thinking of it. And what's beyond the door is the universe. So at least that's the story I'm trying to tell, with the feeling I'm trying to give people. It's garbled. I'm sorry.
Tony's our friend from outer space who was here the other night. Hi, Tony. You're still sounding.
Hi.
Do you know you sound like a
really
space alien?
that.
It's very fun. Let's bring back
But
Have a Nice Day with the space.
One more
the
thing
space
before we
alien.
go. I love science and nature and so forth. And some of the stuff that's happening on the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch is mind blowing. I mean, some of the scientific stuff that they've been able to record there. If they can figure out what's going on there, it could change completely the way we think about physics. So I recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I've long been interested in all the unexplained activity throughout the Southwest, because I'm from the Southwest and have traveled extensively through there. I've been to Utah 29 times because I had relatives that lived there and I used to go twice a year. There are a lot of unexplained phenomena, especially involving the cattle. but when we had Smithsonian curator Jim Deutsch speaking about UFO folklore, he said he dismissed a lot of it, saying, "Oh, so much of it can happen naturally." But I don't think so. I haven't seen Skinwalker Ranch, but I'm familiar with a lot of the
I don't think
you know,
anybody can
accounts.
really explain these balls of light that go zipping across the sky at 3,000 miles an hour, that kind of thing.
Right.
You know, I
But
mean,
there's like dead animal. Aren't the animals found in weird ways
well,
also?
they've been surgically
Yeah, mutilated.
years, like they've been surgically mutilated, and usually they don't have any blood. They've been exsanguinated as well. So
And that wouldn't happen with a normal kind of roadkill incident involving other animals.
no, and if a human were to do that, it would be a lot of work. Why would you bother to do that? You know,
Right.
leave a corpse with no blood in it, no blood scattered around, no footprints or anything around the scene, and the eyes surgically removed, the ears surgically removed. You know.
Right. Back
But,
in the 90s in Utah, the newspapers would cover these incidents, and they generally attributed it to satanic worshipers,
well, they're a good
which,
use for lots of different things, I suppose.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I mean, they've
But then
even,
there's that other, the balls of light that
recorded-
move rapidly through the sky.
they've on Skinwalker Ranch, they've recorded a loss of time. It was only a half a second. They did a big survey with a balloon carrying a whole bunch of instruments up through this weird place that they've discovered near the mesa, and it actually, the chronometer lost a half a second. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but if we had anything even approaching that with our modern technology, all of it would stop working immediately, like
Right.
GPS, like communications stuff. We depend on time to run exactly the way that we think it runs, but in this place, it doesn't. Something weird is going on there. So,
And interestingly, many of our top brass from the military and CIA folks testified just last week on Capitol Hill, and it has gone without much coverage, really, by comparison. They'd rather cover Trump, and which is a big story too, but
do you remember
yeah.
Reagan speaking in front of the United Nations, saying he wondered what would happen to our Homo sapiens politics if we knew that there were people, you know, that there were other beings out there in space. It would unite us. That's was his thought. I'm not sure that's
Right.
it might for a moment, but we seem to find ways to splinter off into ever smaller and smaller groups that want to war with each other. So I don't know. Would see.
Right. Right. Even Ukraine and Russia would become fast friends if faced with something
I think they
extraterrestrial.
could be fast friends now if it wasn't for Putin and his cronies and that.
Oh,
regime.
yeah. Because culturally and linguistically, they're very linked and historically.
The one thing
Right.
about that situation that really infuriates me is we forced that Ukraine to give up its nuclear weapons and said we would protect them, you know, if they needed protection against Russia or whatever. And we didn't, and you know, we've been helping them, but we wouldn't allow them to come into NATO, and you know, so it's kind of partly on us. That's one of the reasons I think we're helping them so much, and we should. All
Right.
right, is that it?
Okay. Do we have any final comments or questions for Dave?
People anymore?
I'm looking at the chat. Here's. Great.
There's a lot of thank yous that they had really enjoyed it. Love seeing your art. Thank you from Claudia. Yeah.
Well, and
Oh,
again, thank you for
sorry.
your time. Everybody's got things they could be doing and paying attention to an old fart. So
Yeah.
Dave just wants to get back to his next painting. How many paintings, Dave, in 4 months?
That's it. Oh, 40.
He's got
40. So you're going to be working on number 41 tonight.
I just finished one. I'll post it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, great. I'm glad to see you on this creative sprint. You know, it's nice to see, and I thought it was a good time to invite you to come and share your work. So
Thank you.
thank you so much again, Dave. It was wonderful to explore your work. And thanks to
Great to
Marcy
see everybody on the Zoom.
yeah, thanks for
helping
coming.
with the
everyone.
tech. Yeah,
Like I said,
and
friend me on Facebook and you can see, what I'm doing.
great.
And then
Thank
keeping up
you.
that website. So